should be recording. So, this is Star Wars The Old Republic Episode 2, and this time I am joined by a friend called Furcifer. Say hello, Furcifer.
Hello, Internet.
Alright, so in this episode we're going to be talking about the topic of what is the best thing about Star Wars The Old Republic. So, do you want to go first, or should I talk about this?
Well, why don't you get started? Then it's your show.
Right. Yeah, no worries. So, personally, a lot of people are going to disagree with this because it's not for everybody. But I think the best thing about this game is the capability and capacity by all players to RP, roleplay, get into it. Because it's just so it's creative, it's original. I haven't played many games where you get the same sort of option, and with the in-game lore that is provided, it's just so easy to build a character and make a story, and it really makes you feel like you're involved.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. RP in this game is definitely one of the highlights. And I've been active on 2 RP servers now. I was active on the Ebonhawk for about 9-ish months, and then I switched to Progenitor, and I've been on Progenitor since. And whether you see a lot of it or not, RP in this game is very, very detailed. There is definitely a heavy focus on the RPG factor of MMORPG.
Yeah, true.
And I think I was saying it to you before we started recording, and it's something you mentioned as well with the lore. The in-game codex is a great way for people to kind of learn about different aspects of the universe. So, in a way, while knowing about the Star Wars lore is beneficial to you, it's definitely not a requirement, because they definitely provide you with so much information that you can use.
Yeah. Definitely. I agree. I know one concern about the RP in this game is it's how to put it. I was talking with someone on Reddit, and they said it's not for everyone because it's a level of, as he put it, quote unquote, dorkdom or geekdom or something like that, that a lot of people just don't find appealing, which is fine. It's each to their own preference, but it is something that you find, especially on the Progenitor server. I've never played on any different servers, so I don't know how this goes, but newbies to RP, I've often found, if they're bad at it, there's a lot of people just can't be bothered teaching them or showing them the ropes, and they just tell them to fuck off.
Oh, completely. And it gets very, sometimes almost aggressive sometimes. I know definitely for a fact. Ebonhawk is the premier RP server in the game. Oh, definitely. It is the RP server with the highest population, and definitely the most.
See, I've never played Ebonhawk because I thought, isn't Ebonhawk supposed to be in a different language or something?
No, it's a US server, and as somebody from Europe, the time zones are completely out of whack.
So now we're joined by another friend of ours, the Guildmaster Henricksen. Say hello, Henricksen.
Hey guys.
So, what do you think is the best thing about the game?
It's an interesting question. To be honest, I like almost every part of the game. It's like every minor part has its wonders. I like RPing, I like the operations, I like the individual flashpoints, and most important, that everything in game has a certain story behind it, and it all links together.
Yeah, I understand that. I think besides the RP, my second favourite thing about the game is probably the flashpoints, because they are, how you get one-shot comics or short novels. set in the Old Republic universe, each flashpoint could be its own, comic of its own self-contained story. Cause
That's actually, sorry,
no, go ahead.
it's actually a very apt analogy because there are some flashpoints that link into each other afterwards. So it is almost kind of like a comic wherein you have this one issue. If I'm going to remember the names correctly, because I'm probably going to butcher them, but there is the Tyon hegemony and the Lost Island flashpoints. While both are two very distinct flashpoints, they link into each other. So it's very much like, here's one issue, now find out what happens next in this issue.
True, and a good example is the Battle of Ilum and False Emperor.
Yeah, those two.
And there's a couple others, like there was
Yeah, and the
remember what it's
Terror
called, but there's
5 and
one
the
that-
Maelstrom Prison.
I think it might be Maelstrom Prison that I'm thinking of. Is that the one that links into the Foundry?
That's the Imperial version of it, but yes.
Well, as you can see, they link in. I like them. They are like little self-contained stories, and for the most part, I know a lot in this game isn't canon, but like you'll find that a lot of the FPs are canon, like canon happenings, such as Malgus's death is canon. But if you look on the Wikipedia page, all it's going to say is Malgus was killed by a small strike team, but that's it.
Well, that's actually interesting because there's a theory about Malgus's death and that he's not dead actually, and he's just put into carbonite as the Outlander was in the beginning of the Knights of the Fallen Empire patch or expansion.
I've heard that one because wasn't there like a deleted concept trailer or something?
Yeah. But some people around still believe this, and they kind of accept it as canon or their canon version of the current state of galactic events.
Fair enough. So
And that actually enters into a bit of a different discussion there about how there's so much in the game that's alternate. Like there's so many choices within the game for dark and light. You can even create your own version of the story that is so drastically different to another person's, even though it is technically the same story. The events don't necessarily have to play out precisely as somebody else's.
very true. So first, did you say your favourite thing about the game? I know I said mine was RP. Henrik said it was a multitude of things. So, your turn.
Well, I do have a few different things that I do enjoy in this game. I would say RP is definitely one of them. I'm very heavy RPer. Been active on 2 servers, but we've kind of already covered that. I would say probably one of the other things that probably hasn't been mentioned is while I was on the Ebon Hawk, I actually developed a nice appreciation for the PvP content in the game.
Interesting. Go on.
While a lot of people may complain that it's, the community of it is a little bit quote-unquote toxic.
You can say that for any community in the game. The ops community, I've never played an op in my life. I tried getting into one, and when I explained that it was my first time, I was kicked. I was vote kicked by the group.
Yeah.
And, the same with flashpoints. If someone's not playing a role correctly, they can get very bitter. Same with RP, as we were talking about earlier before Henricksen joined. If someone's inexperienced with RP, especially on the Progenitor server, you're going to find a lot of people who would rather tell them to go away than help them. So
Yeah.
I think the argument that the PvP community is a bit toxic is a little bit redundant.
Well, yeah, but I think I found... Now, this may be just my personal experience, and I don't really want to offend any of the PvPers that might be listening, but I have experienced and witnessed people who, well, they're just not, how would I put it delicately?
Nice, but just not nice.
They're just not gracious in either victory or defeat.
Right, yeah.
And then you'll often find that many of them, or at least the ones I've seen, it's never their fault, even though it could very well have been.
Yeah, very
Because
true.
I think definitely I've seen it, especially in the lower levels when you're leveling a new character through PvP. If you have an experienced player who's gone back to level a new character and doing PvP, they are always screaming and screaming into the chat about
Yeah,
how the team sucks and they don't know what to do. And, it ties very directly into that point about experience being, a great catalyst for a lot of negativity.
true. Very true. So, you have an admiration for the PvP community, mine's RP, and Henricksen is a multitude of things. Now, I posted this question, what is the best thing about the game, on Reddit, on r/SWTOR. Feel free to contact me there, my name will be in the description, and we're going to look at some of the comments and see what the people in the podcast think. So, number one with the most upvotes is by a guy called, I don't know how to say that, so it's up on the screen. But, in descending order, he says, original class stories, including companion conversations, story-driven vanilla flashpoints, which we've already talked about, planetary story arcs, and the story of the expansions. This is a story-heavy game, and that's where it does best, in my opinion, especially in comparison to storytelling of other MMORPGs. So, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, well, I guess it's true. BioWare is famous for creating one of the best stories. Like, just think about the Mass Effect storyline and that saga. I think BioWare is really good at making the stories and giving life to characters. That is, so just take the fact that this game has like 8 classes, and each classes have distinct stories, and even that the companions that you get, uh, they are all different for the classes, and even the companions, if you converse with them, have separate and distinct stories, and you can actually kind of discover some overlapping details from one companion story to another, and that's kind of nice how they try to link the events together. That's one very positive thing that I discovered uh, in this game.
I think what like you're talking about with links, to not go off conversation. Um, in the Sith Warrior storyline, you get the companion Lieutenant Pierce, and his whole class mission is he wants to assemble a team and storm the Bastion on Corellia. Are we all familiar with the story?
Yeah.
Right. And then when you play the Republic Trooper story, I think I may be mistaken, but the main mission at the end is to take back the Bastion, which is one link in and of itself. But in the lore codex, I'm pretty sure there's some form of reference to the Lieutenant Pierce Black Ops team, which is just a nice little connection.
Yeah, and it's like those kind of connections are littered throughout the game. I'd say one I encountered recently, I think it actually was with you, Hen. We were running Balmora's story arc with R2 hunters, and in that story arc, towards the end, you meet the Imperial governor of Balmora.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, without giving many. Yeah, it's going to be a spoiler.
I think I know what you're getting at here. I think I've done that one.
Spoiler warning here for this one, but in the Jedi Consular story on Balmora, I believe it's the Consular story.
I think it might be the Knight.
It is.
Wait, is it the Consular? I haven't done Consular in a while.
It is the consular story. Yeah, the two characters are the same, and the background of the Balmoran political system is overlapping with the Balmoran planetary storyline and the consular class storyline.
Oh, right.
And so those kind of connections, those stories happen at two separate times in the timeline of the game. So all the story is very linear, and it's so many there's so many little Easter eggs and
Well, it's a known
nods.
fact. The
Okay.
Sith Warrior storyline comes after the Jedi Knight storyline, because at the end of the Jedi Knight storyline, you believe that you've killed the Emperor, but what you actually find out in the Sith Warrior storyline is that the Jedi have instead killed the Emperor's voice, which leads to Darth Barris wanting to take control.
I don't think that that is the case. I mean, there's certainly that, but and by saying that, I must say that I haven't played the Imperial side for a while. But as far as I remember, um, there's a reference of the Jedi Knight class story in the Imperial side as well, and in one of the expansions, um, I think it is Darth Maul who states that there has been an attempt on the Emperor's life, and that's the true reference, not the voice. I think that there are no connections. What you mentioned.
Well, oh, that's weird, because I thought Servant 1 and Servant 2 from the Sith Warrior story claimed that the Emperor's voice had gone silent.
I think there could be more reference to. Now, I'm gonna preface this by saying I, like Henricksen, don't play him side very much. I think I played the Sith Warrior story once, many months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's more a direct link into Malgus's motives,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the Sith Emperor has gone quiet, but that's before they actually storm the Jedi Knight storms Drummond Cass.
Right. Well, you know, I've, like you guys, barely do imp. I barely do rep side, so, yeah. So, we're going to move on to another comment. We've got time for a couple more. So, someone said, Frosty39, 5 hours ago, said, the voiced and animated conversations with your character also being voiced gives this game a level of depth that I haven't found in World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2 or Rift. Also, class stories, to which somebody added called Tamryu. To add on to this point a little, the voice actors, they really bring things together with their well done scenes and acting. Helps most are pretty well known too, as in the voice actors are well known. So what do you think about that? So basically they're saying that the voice acting and the animation in this game, the cinematic aspect of it is what, you know, makes the storyline so good.
Oh, completely. SWTOR like holds no punches in being completely immersive, and I think the voices are definitely an extension of that. Um, Whether you can argue whether some voices are, good or bad or not, I have seen that discussion arise many times on whether certain gender voices for the different classes suit them or not.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the biggest issue I have with voice acting in this game is I just do not like the male Sith Inquisitor. I think he does a good performance as the Sith Inquisitor. Like, he nails it. I just don't like it personally.
Yeah, I think there's an element of that too, but I think definitely the voice acting is one of SWTOR's biggest accomplishments. And I don't know, maybe I'm being a little nitty on this, but in Knights of the Fallen Empire, there are kind of side conversations that are not voiced.
Yeah.
Only the person speaking. It's like KOTOR.
Yeah, I know
The
what you're talking about.
The NPC speaks, but the character doesn't. I don't know if that appeals to some of the KOTOR fans or not, but personally, I didn't like it very much.
It's not that I don't like it, it's that I'd grown accustomed to what the game usually is. So for it to suddenly change was just kind of like a, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah, completely. When
Yeah,
you-
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, we've got time for one more thing. So, the question was, what is the best thing about this game? And the comment of the day goes to Low on Coffee, who says, football. So, we're going to end the video there. I've been Kettlecord. My guests have been HouseFurcifer, or Furse, and Henricksen. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll make more of these in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me as well. It was fun.
Right. And then suggest any topics you want us to talk about in the next episode in the comments below. You can find my referral code in the description if you want to get in-game bonuses, and